Let's see here. How do I get the cross-platform chat ad? There we go. And just got the text saying that we're live. Oh, dude, that was a quick trigger there, Jay. He's like, yeah.
Let the people know.
I love it.
Ugh.
Um, alrighty. So, oh, where's my water bottle? Dang flabbit. Oh, don't tell me I left my water. Oh, there it is. No. I guess I'm gonna just be parched. Well, hello everybody. Welcome to another Hit Chat Chit Chat. I am your host, Coach Connor with RBI Baseball, and next to me, I have a exquisite, amazing gentleman coming north of the border from the Great White. We have Connor Burns. Connor Burns, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
And then right below him, we have a gentleman that is settled in Seattle. Oh no, it's Kent, isn't it? Is Kent the little like
Yeah,
sub?
technically. Yeah.
We have a gentleman coming from us from Kent, Washington. We have JP Fasone. JP, how are you, sir?
Good. Good to be here.
Well, gentlemen, I think was it last week that we weren't able to get together. I
Yeah.
think it was. So took a little
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, man. Got to be with the family. Let me adjust this guy. I do not want to just see myself. There we go. There we go. There are the guys. So we skipped out last week. We're back this week, and this week we're gonna kind of put a little bit of a focus. Connor Burns just recently acquired a Rapsodo hitting 2.0 device. And so today's going to kind of be a little bit about technology, how to use it, some things that you can do. Burns got some questions for me and JP. And so we're just going to go through and have a little Q&A about it. So Burns, if you don't mind, dude, you want to kind of give us a couple questions?
For sure. Okay, I guess I'd start with positives. I guess what is your favorite way to utilize the Rapsodo? Like what did you think it did really well and like you kind of got the most out of using it with?
Personally, for me, the thing that I really liked about it is the spin rate. The fact that it's able to bring that into the discussion, something that HitTrax does not do. TrackMan is one of the ones that does spin rate as well. The spin rate can determine and dictate a outcome so much more than what is actually like believed. I mean, if you have the guys that are slicing balls and they're spinning off like on something that's just picking up the velocity and launch angle, it's not going to be able to accommodate for the fact that it was just backspun. It's going to just hang up in the air, or that it was top spun instead of continuing on that trajectory of it's going to be a ball that hits really well. That's flush. Now it's actually going to be coming straight down because of the top spin on it and stuff like that. So for me personally, I would say the thing that Rapsodo is able to do best is being able to include that, and they do a good job with their certification course as well, kind of going over and explaining how that comes into play and how to read that, the correct spin rates, what's a knuckleball, and those kind of things.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
think similar thing, just like the ball flight feedback that you can't get if you're not outside is huge. Especially up there and you guys aren't able to be outside year round. Just having that ball flight feedback and like Connor said, the spin stuff's really cool because you can get that sliced or cut balls and kind of figure out like are we losing exit velocity because they're not squaring the ball up and also just like it allows you to pick out targets a lot better. So like, hey, if I'm trying to go to left center, where does that ball go in a cage? Because I think for guys like I've sat in front of a hit tracks and watched balls, the feedback of that. But even for me, standing in a cage, it's hard to figure out like where's the foul line and like where's the gap. So the ball flight feedback's huge.
Um I'll go with a more kind of general one for like tech. What's your favorite way to like utilize it? I guess within like not like a youth population, but I'd say like high school hitters, those guys who are like solid but maybe not advanced enough to really get into some of the more advanced stuff. Like, what's your favorite way to utilize that?
JP, take that one, dude.
Um, way to utilize it. Yeah, I think obviously like the basic ones, just like getting a pretty big report and a
Mhm.
large sample size, and you can kind of get a good idea of like what's the athlete really capable of doing right now. Like where does their hard hit balls go when they miss hit it? What does their miss hit look like? And kind of start to address issues mechanically based on those things. I think the other thing it does is just like setting good targets or good goals for them to kind of work towards. As far as like whether that's exit velocity or launch angle or lowering kind of average spin rate on their batted ball, it's like just having that immediate feedback loop and giving them kind of a goal to shoot for to kind of drive their intention when training.
I also, to continue on with like the training aspect of it, I think it brings out more to the kid, allowing them to trust you. I think if it's in a situation where it's a newer athlete or anything like that, they're not really understanding or grasping kind of the things that you're going over and talking about. That immediate feedback that JP mentioned, like to be able to show a kid that, like, hey, I know this feels weird, but it feels weird because it's just a new movement and something that you're not used to. But if you're just in a cage with no results, I mean, that kid, if as an instructor, it kind of gives you more leeway because you can use that to validate what you're saying rather than needing it to like be validation, if that makes sense. Like use it to say like, hey, what I'm saying is correct. Like look at how you just jumped your average and not max, but like your average exit velocity. It went up 3 miles an hour once we started doing this one little thing, and then they can take that feeling and was like, hey, I know that feeling was weird, but now I'm seeing the immediate like feedback that I can get from something like that ability to have that. And then I also use a lot of leaderboards, and my leaderboard is right next to my cage, so that way as a kid literally walks in, he can look at what his personal record is or what his brother's personal record is or his best friends or the crosstown rival. They can see that and be like, all right, that's what I'm going to beat. And they can immediately, like, if they're 1 mile away from their PR, like, they can sit there and go, like, oh, like, I am right there. But if you don't have that, then they don't know. And then at the end of the day or whatever, it's like, oh, you were just, half a mile away from being your PR. If I just would have known that, like, we could have done like 3 more swings or something.
Also, just like is is what I'm doing as a coach working? Like if you do a training thing and you go through a block of training and they're doing all these drills and whatever swinging weight bats and stuff, and you get 2 weeks in and like nothing's changed, you're like, man, I should probably change the way we're doing this. I think that's the whole advantage of technology in general. It's not necessarily like telling you what you need to work on, but just like if you pick something out that you're like, hey, I want to increase exit velocity or I want to change the attack angle or whatever, and I'm going to do these things to do that. The data is going to tell you whether you succeeded in that process or not, and whether you need to make adjustments.
What else you got for us,
Yeah,
Brinzy?
I like that. Sorry, I'm just literally taking all of this
Oh
in. I
no,
gotta.
my bad, my bad. No, you're good. You're good. Take your time, brother. Take your time.
um, okay, so I guess I'll go like to a negative. What's one thing that Rapsodo doesn't do well that you like think it would actually take it to like another level? Because like I was talking with Reynolds before, like kind of 2 days into using it, I'm already like seeing like, okay, this is why this is $4,000, and like a TrackMan or Hit Tracks is like 20, right?
Yeah.
For me, the one thing that I think would take them over the top, I personally believe that they would slightly change how the system is operated on a mechanical standpoint. So right now, how you connect to it is via a Wi-Fi signal, where other technologies generally use Bluetooth. And this one allows for the iPad that you're using, the device, because you have to have your own iPad to use it, and it has to be an iPad. You can't have an iPhone or anything like that. It's only locked into the iPad iOS stuff. When you do that, you're not able to connect to the internet in live time and have that data go to the cloud like with Blast Motion and stuff like that. Like you can immediately send that stuff off. Where with Rapsodo, when that goes through, and if there's an issue, like let's say you want to mirror your device up to a smart TV or something like that, you're not able to do that now most of the time because you have to be on the same Wi-Fi as that smart TV to be able to mirror something. But now Rapsodo is taking up its own Wi-Fi, so now you can't really do that. I mean, iPads don't come in, the biggest size, so now you're having to get like an attachment to mirror the device. Now you're having to get a 50-foot HDMI cord or whatever TV you want to put it on or whatever it is. It's just, I personally think if they were just to switch that mechanical thing, and I don't know if they've gone into it, but the frequency, there's like, if you go into the settings, there's like 6 different Wi-Fi frequencies that you need to use if in case the one that you're using isn't working the best, and you have to play with it. There's not that much like customer service on it to really be able to like hammer it in and make it super easy. So I think if they were to fix that, I think it would make the customer side a lot easier.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that too. Just like why I never understood why it's Wi-Fi. Yeah, because that whole process. Because we've had the Rapsodo pitching for a while, so like I'm all kind of ins and outs of that one, and it was like why I don't understand why Wi-Fi is a thing. It didn't make any sense to me. But
Yeah. I think one of the other big drawbacks, and like you said, it's not necessarily a knock against the product, but there's a reason it's $4,000 instead of 10 grand. Um, like the metrics don't stabilize as quickly, especially as you work away from the middle of the field. So exit velocity, spin rate, launch angle, like all those metrics tend to stabilize a little bit slower the further you work away, kind of balls going directly over the machine. So I think you kind of have to take that into consideration when you're coaching. Is just one swing, 5 swings. You kind of have to hold off judgment a little bit until you get a bigger sample size, because it's a little bit more sporadic on the accuracy of the readings. But there's a reason it's $4,000. It's portable. It's fairly easy to set up and use, and so it's not necessarily a knock against the technology. I think it's just something you got to be aware of when you're using it.
Gotcha. Okay. As a hitting coach, if you were only allowed to use one piece of tech the rest of your life, that includes like a camera as well, like a video camera. Which would you pick?
I'm still going with the JP. Are you?
I don't know. That's tough. I think not having a camera would be too tough. I would probably if I had to pick one piece of tech, I'd pick an Edgertronic camera, because at least I could mess with the frame rates enough to maybe take a guess at some bat metrics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you could probably come up with a way to put some markers in the cage or something and get attack angle and bat speed and that kind of thing based on frame rate. So I'm probably gonna go with Edgertronic camera.
So from what I'm guessing, we don't have a budget then.
No,
Yeah, I guess
That's
no
fair.
budget.
That's fair. So then, I mean, I would pay somebody that's as smart as JP to do the same thing that JP just explained. No, I would just send them the video and be like, hey, what was going on here? What's the exit velocity of that? If I was on some type of budget, I think we've talked about this. If we were doing you had $10 to spend at the store, and this is how much, and this is the different categories or whatever. I personally believe if there was like a cap on it as being at, let's say if $6,000 was like the cap for that, I think isn't Edgertronic like 11? What's Edgertronic?
Something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't give you
Okay,
a
I
number.
think
It's more. It's expensive.
I think it's 11. I would go with honestly a blast motion. I think blast
Yeah.
motion is the best tool on the idea of it gives you the process of what's going on. Like you can look at a hit tracks report, and I mean, Driveline did it where they had a guy it was the shot put guy I think that came in and off of the tee was hitting like 105 miles an hour or something like that. And so like I mean, you could like
Mhm.
trick the hit tracks or Rapsodo in a certain setting, just depending on what you're doing. Now, when they went to soft toss, I think he swung and missed at every single pitch. But like, oh, my phone just died. Oh my gosh, everything's falling apart right now. My phone died. All right, one sec. Brutal.
That's a good question, Birdsey. I think
And then my mic stand just.
I think
fell
again,
off.
like Blast is really good, but I don't know, videos tough.
I was gonna say like
You can only
film
see so
video.
much with your eyes.
Yeah,
Gosh dang it.
and like I don't know, especially with like the younger athletes too. It's just like, hey, this is what you're doing, and there's like, I don't feel it, so I'm just like, okay, this is you. You know what I mean? Like this is literally what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
This is what it looks like, and they're like, "Oh, that looks really bad." You're
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, I know." That's why I'm trying to tell you to do something different. Yeah. Especially the younger athletes. Yeah, that's such a good point. Like the younger athletes, you're not working on like the really minute things
No.
that you kind of need to dig into some data for. So yeah, the video, I give it up. Video is tough, but it was just like including video. Like I'd probably pick Blast Motion too, just because. I don't know. I've over the last month or so, I'm like, okay, like really, like what really matters when it comes to hitting a baseball. Like it doesn't really matter what you do.
Hmm.
Uh, in isolation, it really matters like what does the ball do when you hit it. And
Hmm.
so scaling back from that, it's like okay, so it really matters what the bat's doing. Um, so like if you can figure out what the bat's doing, I can probably give you a pretty good idea of what the ball is going to do. And if I know what the bat's doing, I can probably give a pretty good guess at what you're doing to move the bat like that.
Yeah. No. 100%. Do you guys ever use the Diamond Kinetics one? That sensor, whatever.
I've never used DK sensors. I know at the facility they tried them for a while. I couldn't really tell you why we don't use them now, why we don't use those versus Blast. I'm not really sure. I've never heard anybody really have big complaints about Diamond Kinetic sensors or anything, but it just doesn't seem like it caught on as much.
Honestly, I think it was more of the look and like the actual accessibility of Blast. Because I had a
Yeah.
Diamond Kinetics first, and then I kind of was doing my research, and everyone was saying Blast is better. So then I got that, and like immediately when I started using Blast, I was like, "This is just like the website, the app. It's like so much easier."
It's more user friendly to get it going and
I
everything.
think Diamond Kinetics also has different data points that they do.
Yeah, I know they do have different metrics. Yeah.
Sorry about that little hiatus right there. My phone died
Technical issues.
at the same time as my microphone stand collapsed. So sorry. I caught the tail end of what you were saying, JP, about the blast motion, and that's same exact reason as why I would, go with it. You're able to work backwards if you know what the process of the swing is doing, if you know what the bat speed is, the attack angle. Time to contact is a little iffy on the blast motion. For some guys, like you can trick the time to contact just depending on what kind of waggles they have and stuff like that. So That's the one. But I mean, just like the plan score, rotational score, the aspect that, I mean, if you're just a kid that goes out and buys Blast Motion, you don't even need an instructor. When you open up your app and you've connected your Blast Motion, it will give you drills and the things that you need to work on and drills to help out that. Like that's the aspect of Blast Motion that I really like. It's $150 for the sensor. If you need it for less than that, let me know. I got you. And then it's also $60 a year for the kid to have it. Now, talking with one of the guys that does Blast Motion, every single kid goes and gets pretty much a new $350 to $550 bat each year. The bats only are going to help you get maybe an extra 2 feet. Blast Motion can help change your entire swing for the better. So I think for that, Blast Motion for me would be the go-to.
Yeah, especially for younger athletes, like it's just they start using that, they're gonna get a lot better. And honestly, they're gonna get a lot better conceptually understanding what the swing's supposed to look like and supposed to do and what's effective and what's not. Even if that's just them swinging and going like, I hit well when the number's this. That's a good enough data collection and analysis for kind of younger athletes.
And it's color coordinated too. Like green next to a number means that's higher than your average. Yellow is that you're close. Red is that you're down. Like you literally just set it up and can just look at colors and it'll tell you if you're doing a good job.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's yeah, that's probably the one thing I'd pick other than like a camera for sure.
Yeah, why'd you make that a thing?
Yeah, that made it tough, honestly. That made it so much harder.
I mean, it technically is technology, so
Yeah, it
It
is.
is,
It
but
is.
I mean, me personally though, I feel that the technology, like my grandma has an iPhone with a 4K camera on it. Like
Just more
it's
accessible
just
than
is
anything
literally
else.
the easiest. Like I use iPhones as well, I don't anymore, but I used iPhones as my webcams for. I would get the refurbished version for $60 online, and I would set it up, and it is pretty much a 4K camera.
That's why I had to go a little bit fancier and say an Edgertronic camera.
You bougie. What else you got for us, Bernsey?
and honestly, that's about it. Like with most of the rap soda stuff, I'm just kind of digging into the data right now, and like I won't even really dig into most guys' data because I need a way bigger sample size. Obviously, actually, that kind of another question. Like, how big of a sample size are you looking for like a fairly accurate assessment?
Like 100 to 120 batted ball.
And not misread. Like they'll be where they
Yeah.
go in and it'll say that it like collected it. I had a 12-year-old hitting 113 at negative like 60-degree launch angle.
We have like hit tracks and blast setup, and hit tracks is a little bit more. It's stabilized a little bit faster. It's typically sometimes every now and then, like you'll definitely get swings where they both read the same. And then you get some swings where like it tracks has it a little bit faster than Rapsoda, or Rapsoda's got it a little bit slower, or vice versa. And so that's where like getting that around 100 swing sample size pretty much stabilizes everything to where you can be pretty confident when you get that like, hey, like this is their average exit velocity, this is their average launch angle. You can be pretty confident in that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just kind of like technology in general, though. Like, I think like older coaches' biggest gripe with technology is like it's not accurate. It's like, yeah, but like no, there's not a piece of technology in the world besides like maybe a motion capture lab that's incredibly accurate. Like, so you just gotta be smart with it and kind of understand
And
like what data you can look at, how reliable is it, what's your confidence interval look like, and
it's not that you have to put all of your chips into the basket of technology. Like that's another thing that I think older coaches don't realize is that just because I have a HitTrax or a Rapsodo or Blast Motion, that doesn't mean like I'm deleted as a part of like the training session. Like That's a
Yeah.
tool that I am using, just
Mhm.
like a carpenter would use a hammer. Like those are tools
Yeah,
that they
just
need.
like a
And
camera. It's like a camera.
so like it's not the entire lesson. It adds to the lesson, or it adds to the training. One thing though I would like to kind of go over is some games that JP you might have played, or
Mm.
stuff that you guys do with it. One thing, and I'm going to give a shout out, Chris Dunn of High Pro Hitting. This is who I kind of got it from. It's called the box game. And so right now, if you were to look at my cage, I have ropes that are signifying all the different launch angles and stuff like that, of like target angles and stuff. But you're able to go through and kind of select what you value. And it can change from player to player, or you can have a general basis of like, hey, for your younger guys, like we're going to be trying to be around from 10 to 25-degree launch angle. And so what you do is you play a game where every ball that they hit in that category is a point. And then for every ball that they hit over their average exit velocity, you add another point. And then for every time they like call it out, that's like double or something like that. And then you do it out of like a 20 pitch sample size, and you kind of say like who's like the king of the game right there. So, and you don't even have to tell them directly about the launch angles and stuff like that. So like for the younger guys, we play a game called Bat. So it's like horse, but you just hit off the tee and you like call out your spots and stuff like that. So they
Yeah.
don't know
Yeah,
that they're trying to
that is
hit like
sick.
these launch angles or these spots. And I have blast motion on their bat, so if they're under, I know what number they're supposed to be at generally. So if they go below, they're trying to aim it, it doesn't count. But if they are, good bat speed and they miss, I give them another chance. And it's like, okay, well, why did we not hit that one? Was the tee in a really bad spot? And what you'll start to realize is kids, like younger kids, have no clue, and some even high school kids have no clue like where they need to set up the tee to be productive. And so that kind of starts that ball rolling. And I mean, you can just play games like that just to kind of get them understanding the value of those things.
That's a really good idea for those young guys. Um, a couple games I played when I was coaching at Lamar that were fun and like a little bit more team oriented were we did Rapsodo scrimmages. And so like Rapsodo's not gonna tell you whether it's a single, double, home run, whatever. But
But they
we did it
could.
like
It's just
exit
blocked out.
velocity. Yeah, so we just did exit velocities like within your top 10% was like a double. Top 10% of your peak exit velocity was double. And then top, a little bit lower than that was a single. And then if you hit your peak or, beat your PR, then that was a home run. And then gave them launch angle constraints for that. So like 25 to 35, 15 to 20, depending on kind of what situation you want to work on. You can change the counts. We've done like 2 strike counts where like I'll lower the launch angle to like 10 to 15 or 10 to 20. So they're looking for a little bit lower ball flight, flatten their swing out a little bit, get on plane with it a little bit longer. And then, plus counts where they're just trying to hit massive high bombs. That one's a good one for teams. And then also we've done velo races. So like splitting them up into groups, and then you get 8 pitches around, you get 4 rounds. The teams race to whatever exit velocity you want. So like 2,000 miles per hour, and the team to get there the fastest wins, or the team with the most total exit velocity at the end of the day wins. And you can make that broad. You can just make that, hey, wherever whatever the exit velocity is. And also you can put launch angle constraints, spray angle constraints. You can put spin constraints on that. You can kind of make it as narrow focus or as broad as you want. The fun part about like Rapsodo is the misreads. Like, and it's the same thing like hit tracks and like all that other stuff. Like, technology giveth and technology taketh away. Like sometimes you pop like, a kid will hit a ball like straight into the machine. It reads like 150 miles an hour, and I put it up there. I'm like, hey, like I know it's wrong. Like we all know he didn't hit that ball 150, but I'm giving him the points because like just like in a game, like you're gonna get a bad call, you're gonna get a bad break, and then who knows? The next time he hits a ball, he absolutely just crushes one. And Rapsodo doesn't read. Well, guess what? I'm giving him 0 points. Like you got to deal with the punches a little bit. So those are some fun games just to kind of give them a little bit more competitive and a little bit more team oriented, I guess.
I like that. Yeah, definitely like the top 10% of your exit velo one. That's a solid one.
And I would probably use like I used to use peak exit velocity, but like because Rapsodo's not like doesn't stabilize that fast, I would probably use their top eighth as kind of their marker for a double, and then go from there because that's I'm a little bit more confident that that's a realistic number. Because we had some kids where it was like, their peak exit velocity was like 105, and they hit it one time and they hit it straight to the ground. It's like, you're probably not realistic there.
I will say Rapsodo's interface on the website for Cloud makes it really easy to go through and like highlight, like order the different hits, then they separate the different sessions. Like I will say Rapsodo's interface for data and stuff like that, which if you've been doing the pitching side of it, Burnsy, you should know, like it is really nice. Like I do really enjoy it. Very colorful, which I love colorful. Very easy to use, lots of charts. And if you want to go through and delete stuff, it's really easy. How they lay that stuff out makes it very user friendly.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing I'll say is it's organized like really nice, and like it gives you a ton of fucking charts and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I was blown away with that for sure, but kind of used to it obviously with the pitching stuff.
Yep. Yeah, the online stuff's really cool.
Is there anything else, Burnsy, you thinking of?
No, that's about all I got.
One thing I will say, if you ever do get into times where you're getting like misreads or not misreads, like if it's taking like too long to load, if you just pull down the tab from the top to bring up like the notifications that you've had for that day, what will happen is it will disconnect it from the Wi-Fi, and then, well, not from the Wi-Fi, but the app disconnects. And so then all you have to do is click reconnect on the app, and it should reconnect right away back to it. And then it just kind of, you won't get the data for that, but you don't have to just sit there for 2 minutes just, putting everything on pause. If at some point you just want to kill it, you can.
Yeah, no, okay, that makes sense because I ran into that. I was running for a while, but I was like on my fourth group of the day, and they got about like 30 to 40 minutes of it with each group. So I was going on my fourth group, and like it just kept getting stuck in that data processing mode, and would just like fucking keep buffering, and then it would just disconnect, and then I'd lose everything, and I was like, what the hell? So that was super annoying, but.
Yeah, the other thing too is like at the end of the day, you got all those swings on the iPad, and so like the processing takes a lot longer when there's a ton of swings on there.
Which is why they should go to a Bluetooth system to allow the iPad to stay connected to the Wi-Fi, so that way it just.
And email.
Knew that was coming.
You want to know something? I talked to the not dev team, but the guys like right next to it, because I was having. So they also say that you're able to have your cages, I think it's 14 feet apart from home plate to home plate. Well, that's what we had at the other facility I was at, and it would still register the cage next to me. And I kept continuously asking, like, at what angle does the sensor start to pick stuff up? Because I was just going to block off the cage, and it just, like, would never answer me, like, those kinds of things. And then I brought up the idea of the Bluetooth versus the Wi-Fi, and they were just like, yeah, I'm sure they already thought of that, and I'm sure there's a reason why they do it that way. So I was just like, oh, but every other technology company doesn't do it this way, and they all work consistently. But all right, sounds good.
Yeah. The other thing too is like my education professor would always say, like, definitely use technology in your lesson plans. It's really useful. It's really great for the kids, but technology is always going to break when you really need it to work. So if you don't have a backup plan, that's when it's going to break. Even if you're using it, like you gotta have other plans just in case.
Every time.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, shoot. Do you guys have anything that you guys kind of saw or went through this past week with your guys' lessons or anything like that you guys want to bring up, ask, discuss?
No, I was just like talking about your tweet thread today, JP. It was literally like immediately I saw that and I went to like this one guy I'm coaching right now, and it's like I get him off the blast and he's got like fucking unbelievable metrics. He hit like 460 with like 15 doubles in 28 games and like just hit the shit out of it for me this summer. And I've been working for like a year now, and I literally like I don't say anything to him about his swing. I'm just like, it fucking works. So I'm like, I'll talk to you about like approach and like different counts and like stuff we're looking for, etc. But I was like, I haven't even touched his swing at all. So I'm just like, he fucking smokes it. So like, fuck it.
Yeah, if it works, just fine. Like I'm not. We'll make a little tweak, like you said, like approach stuff. We'll talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, we're good. Like if you bang, you bang. Like
Yeah, exactly. Like it looks like I don't know, kind of looks a little funky to me, but I'm just like, man, like he just hits
yeah,
absolute fucking líneas all the time. So
yeah.
Hey,
And that's something like or for people that are listening that didn't see the tweet. It was just a tweet about like, hey, like when you're diagnosing swing flaws, like because I do this all the time, and that's just my brain just kind of works like that. Like, oh, like I'm looking for the most efficient swing. I'm looking for the perfect swing, and like I know all this stuff now, so I need to make all these adjustments. And the thread was basically just like start with ball flight, and then work your way back from there. Like, what's the ball do when he hits it? What's the bat do to make the ball do that? And then what's his body do to make his bat do that to the ball? And so on. And that kind of helps you like not overcoach. And like you said, that's something I was terrible at in my first couple of years coaching. It was just like taking kids that hit really well and then trying to teach it like change some move. And I'm like, yeah, it was just wasn't worth it. Like not worth the increase that we were going to get out of it in the short term or the long term, really. Um,
that's one thing that I like a lot is being able to go through because I envision it as if you were to have a leaky pipe that was just leaking consistently. If you just take a bucket and put it underneath the leaky pipe, that's the band-aid. That's going to be solved for the next little bit. So if you're just going off of like ball flight and you're just being immediately wanting to give feedback and you're just always wanting to say something, or whether it be kid's got a really good swing, he's just not doing the best today, or his timing is off, or like you guys mentioned on the approach side, the approach and the mechanic are two separate things. If your timing is bad, you can have a like picture perfect swing. If you're swinging before the ball is released, you're never going to hit it. If you're swinging once the ball is in the catcher's mitt, you're never going to hit it. So making sure that you're able to dial that in. But back to like the leaky thing is that when you are not going back through to the source of the issue, going from ball flight to the swing, what is the body doing that's making the swing do that? If you just put the little bucket underneath the leaky pipe, at some point that bucket is going to fill up again. And now it's going to be overflowing. And now, yeah, you did a band-aid for a second, but since you never actually fixed the cause of the problem, it's going to come back and it's going to be something. So unless you're fixing like and going through kind of like the root of the body, like what is the body doing that's making the bat do that? Because the bat is going to be what's going to hit the ball, like JP said. So if the bat is doing wrong things, it's going to be shown in the ball flight and stuff like that. Fix the problem, fix the source of the issue. It's generally going to be the body rather than generally anything else.
yeah. I mean, I agree with that. I think this is just me. When I start thinking like, hey, I need to fix movements, I tend to get really internal.
Hold on, I can't hear you. Yo, Jay, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Oh, what?
I lost my ear.
That was weird.
Did I lose you?
Yeah, like there was no audio and we lost Burns.
Hey,
Oh, his laptop just
Bernsey.
died. Yeah, so I did not
Oh no,
I did not hear any of that last little bit.
that's okay. earbud just died. That's why. Try this again. You hear me?
Yeah.
Oh.
So what were you saying about you personally believe that?
I get like I know my
Nope. No audio, Jay. No audio, Jay. JP, put your AirPods away. There. Oh. Can't hear you. Oh, JP. All right, everybody. So right now we're just going through too many technical difficulties. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
No. Now I can. So I think, do you keep playing with your AirPod? Keeps
Yes.
trying to get picked up, and so it keeps going to the
Absolutely.
AirPod, and then I
I
lose
got you.
you. So I did not hear a say. Can you see me, sir?
I can.
Okay. So did not hear anything that you said again.
Yeah, just
Third
going
time's
back
the
to,
charm.
we're just getting like I get very internal because like I like to think probably too much about what it takes to move the bat a certain way. So for me, like queuing up guys internally about their movements is kind of a big issue that I have. So starting with the ball flight's always been a big help for me just to kind of check myself, make sure we're not absolutely doming the kid up when I'm giving him 14 different cues about what his left forearm's supposed to be doing.
Right now you're going here versus here, and that's the
Yeah. We
You
really
see
want to be
that?
like this.
Oh, and the worst is when I first got slow motion, dude. I was a slow motion whore. Like, Coach's Eye, how they have
Yeah.
the like slow motion thing. So I would go through and I would screen record super slow motion, take that screen recording, put it back into Coach's Eye, go slow motion again, slow mo that, and then I would take that out, put it back into Coach's Eye, and now we're doing slow motion again. And like I was just a whore about it. And essentially I had Chad Longworth. He talks about how he doesn't really like to use cameras and stuff like that because he says that this is such a violent and athletic move that is happening consistently. When you go to the slow motion, like you can take away the athleticism away from the athlete because now they're trying to like follow a motion rather than create emotion. And so, I definitely had to, do my steps back and stuff like that with kind of like overdoming just because I'm looking at, a 1/1,000,000th of a second. And right now your hip is going the wrong way. So we need to worry about that and blah, blah, blah. And, I think it comes to a point where you said, you got to see the ball flight. If it's not a process issue that is going to be an issue like in the near future, or like if it's something like they're still hitting really well, they're 13-year-old, they're hitting well, their body's changing consistently, like you don't necessarily need to change what their body is doing, changing the mind, giving a cue, and then just allowing them to be an athlete. Like for me, I think working on approaches is so much more valuable and allowing them to understand those situations. Because I mean, at the end of the day, Hunter Pence is, someone that has won many World Series and has played many games at a very high level. And that swing, man.
Every grace the ball field. But that's what I mean. Like, and it goes back to like when I hear people talk about like, oh, like this is an elite movement pattern. Like the second I hear somebody say this is an elite movement pattern and this is what elite hitters do, and always kind of like I'm interested because I like that stuff and like I'm totally the guy that would break down like every little pixel and try and figure out like why hitters do what they do. But I'm at the end of the day, like you can tell me that's an elite move. You can show me that 70% of big leaguers do this thing. I can find a counterexample. I guarantee it. Like I guarantee there's dudes that perform at a big league level that don't do what you're talking about. So for me to just throw that at an athlete and be like, "This is how you have to do it," I'd just be lying to them because you don't have to, obviously, because there's 30% of the big leaguers that don't do it. So realistically, are you probably going to need this? Yeah, but right now, like I'm going to let you kind of figure out whether that's something you can compensate your way out of and still perform at a high level, or whether that's something that's really, like you said, whether it's just something I can put a bucket under and you're athletic enough and you're strong enough and you move well enough that you can work while having this kind of swing flaw, then great. But if it's something we really need to repair, then we'll do that too. But I'm going to kind of let the athlete figure that out.
You gotta let, and it's been an analogy I've been using, and I might have brought it up a couple weeks ago, but just like a swim instructor, when you've had like the little kids and they're in the water, like your hand is right underneath their butt, just in case if they go whoop, you're here and you're bringing them back up. But you got to make sure that they don't know that your hand is there, so that way if they do start to panic, if they do start to like freak out, like they know like, hey, I got to figure this out. And the amount of times a kid like is able to figure it out on their own, and it's like, oh, I just was doing this, or I just needed to do this, or I just needed to think of this, like I just needed a cue like that. It happens a lot. And if you're always just so quick to the rescue and wanting to fix something right away, and you're not allowing the kid to become and understand what they're doing, where their body's at, the adjustments that they need to make. If the coach is the one that is always having to tell the player the adjustment they need to make, that player is always going to need that coach with them, because they're never going to be able to feel or make the adjustment on their own. So, I mean, unless your, mom or dad are attached at the hip, or I don't know, like, I mean, it's not a good thing just to make sure your kid is always relying on you or the coach to make adjustments. They have to be able to drown a little bit. They have to be able to find that ability to do it on their own, so that way it can be a long-term progression rather than just a short-term fix.
Yeah. And really you can work on like, hey, this kid doesn't pull the ball a good launch angle. Every time he pulls the ball, it's just straight in the ground. So we're not maximizing that batted ball. And so we're just going to work on hitting the ball in the air to the pull side more. And we're going to do some things to force you to do that. And if you don't do that, you're going to really struggle in this environment. And what's been crazy for me in getting kind of the motion capture lab running, getting reports and being able to dig into that, like it's just more data for us to play with and absolutely just melt our brains, which is fun for us. But I had a kid that came in over the summer, really athletic, the ball really well, like an above average high school athlete from the South, and like was clearly very good already. Like I didn't, if he would have gone and like he's going to be a good college hitter no matter what I did, but like had a pretty low launch angle to the pull side and a point of contact that was like 2 feet out in front of the plate. That was just his average point of contact, was just all the way out there. And so I was like, hey, like I'm going to really try not to talk mechanics with you because you're athletic and like you trust your body and you can get out of, like, his swing was terrible. His swing looked awful. Like it was bad. And then like it was one of those guys you watched and he's putting up massive exit velocity numbers and just crushing 90-mile-an-hour fastballs off the machine. And I'm just sitting there going, how are you doing this? Your swing is awful. Like one of the worst swings I've seen. So all we worked on was just pulling the ball a little bit higher and pulling that point of contact back. I was like, we got to hit it deeper. Because one of the things he talked about was just getting exposed with off-speed pitches. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, if you're committing to a fastball 2 feet out in front of the plate and that's off, yeah, you're going to swing and miss. So, like, just moved his point of contact back. He struggled with his timing for a long time, and then he started to figure it out and kind of added a toe tap in. And like you said, just talked about approach and, like, his load and just, hey, we got to be on time if we're going to hit it deeper. And So he did a mocap over the summer and came back for another assessment this winter. So I got to kind of look at both mocaps, and like his coil was better. Like he's putting more force into the ground. He's rotating faster. He's rotating more efficiently. All we talked about was just hit the ball a little bit deeper. Like we just need to hit the ball deeper. And he just naturally did all these things to accomplish that goal. And so like that kind of that mindset of like, hey, we can change stuff, and it's his body's gonna find a way to do that effectively. Then sick, makes my life easy. That way I don't melt his brain. I just get to sit in the office and melt my own, staring at all this data.
I'm so jealous, dude. Like, so I live vicariously through you and the Instagram stories that you were tagged in every single time. Every single time. That's so cool. And just to be able to fix something like that to where, I mean, like you said, you weren't expecting or, wanting him to fix those things that ended up getting fixed. So just because you were raising, and this is, I think, something that needs to happen more consistently, raising your floor is going to help you raise your ceiling so much easier. If your ceiling and floor are so separated, unless you're a really tall person or got a really good tall ladder, like you're at some point you can't reach. But if you're able to pull the floor up, now you can keep extending the ceiling. And I mean, that wasn't the goal. That wasn't what was expected. It was just like the problem of, hey, let me guess, you suck at off speed. Yeah, I do. All right, let's try and not hit it 2 feet in front of us. Let's hit it a little bit deeper. And that solves so many other things along in the process, which that's awesome. And how did the player feel when he realized that and was like, oh, so this has also gone up, this has gone up? Like, what was that reaction?
I didn't tell him any of that. I didn't tell him any of that. He started hitting better, like off the machine and stuff. He was hitting off-speed pitches better. Like we do mixed pitch days off the machine, and he was doing a lot better towards the end of his time over the summer. And I was just like, sweet. So he was excited because he was hitting better. I was excited because his pelvis rotation was better. Like he doesn't need to know that. He just needs to know, hey, I hit the ball better now. That's it. Good job.
I love it. Is there a portion to where and I think we've talked about it, to where if a player wants to know that information, I mean, obviously I don't think you guys would hide that. Is there a player profile or portion to which they get that information and it's up to them whether they look at it or not, like at the end of the session?
I mean, it's all on their track profile.
Okay, so it's just whether he wants to look at it or not.
Yeah, and like, you're looking at a large data. Like it's the amount of data points that are in those reports. It's absurd. Like if I sat down with him and talked through every single one, we'd be in there for like 2 hours. So like even if he was to look, like he'd have to really ask me what does this number mean? What's a good number here? And he, like I said, like he doesn't need to know. He hit the ball. The pitcher's gonna throw a little white thing. You hit that thing really hard, you're gonna be really good. That's it. Start there. Let me worry about all the other stuff. If you're interested, sweet. I'll tell you. I can talk your ear off. But if that's if you don't want to get into it, then cool. No, that's awesome too. That's awesome.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to add from past lessons or anything like that from this past week or anything, or 2 weeks? And if not, I mean, no worries. We're actually at the 55-minute mark.
Are we?
I mean, I'm more than willing to go forever. I'm just saying, like, we actually have like a great pod. So if you don't have anything, we don't need to extend.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been kind of getting back to the routine after Thanksgiving, and honestly, like a lot of my time's just been looking at the new motion capture reports and getting comfortable using them, and coming up with random questions because right now we really don't know what's valuable or what we should be looking at, and so we're just going to come up with the questions and do some do some research. I get to ask the questions, and then the really smart people in our sports science department get to answer them for me.
How much do you work with Anthony?
Brady?
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, a lot. We meet with him once a week for our last meeting was 2 hours. So like once a week we sit down and go, hey, like you guys got any questions after looking at this stuff? And we're like, yeah, we have like a million.
Actually,
which one would you like to start with, Brady? And you know, the nice part for him too is like, you know, he's got a pitching background, and when they did the motion captures for the pitching, it was a little bit easier because they had some pitching knowledge, so they could kind of make some inferences. So the meetings, it's us asking questions, yeah, and like us learning from him, but also like, he's learning, hey, what do we value in hitting? Like, you know, talking to him about like, hey, this is what side bend is when we talk about it. What does that mean from a biomechanics standpoint? What numbers could we look at to evaluate that? So that back and forth is a lot of fun.
I bet. So Anthony went to UNC. He arrived right after I had departed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I heard of him, and he was the 2 Tommy John kid and stuff like that. And it was like, what? Like, that's crazy. And so, and then I've been able to kind of follow Baseball Freak on, is it Baseball Freak or Baseball Freak 09 or something like that? I feel like there's a number at the end.
I think it's, 09.
Is it? If that's, I'm going to high five them myself if that's the exact one. I know it's Baseball Freak. He puts out absolutely incredible stuff and a lot of great video stuff along with it, just to kind of show and diagram what's going on. Started following him when he put out his research paper at UNC, or it was either before he got to UNC or something. He had something out on it, on the biomechanics of like the throwing process and stuff like that. Started following him, and then he went up to Driveline, and then he started doing the podcast with the R&D pod and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And I 0% chance he knows anything about me or anything like that at all. But I know, I know a lot about him.
He's another one of those guys where like you talk to him and like you hear his story and stuff. You're like, you're fucking insane. Like you're just insane. That's crazy. Like, ridiculously smart, really athletic still, and just super down to earth.
Well, shoot, man. Anything else?
Well, we lost Burnsy.
We lost Burnsy, dude. I mean, tonight has been definitely a night of us trying to get back into the flow.
Yep. Back on the saddle and make it work.
So I don't want to do this, but I kind of want to do this. When are you free this week? I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Me on the spot right now. Yeah.
I know. And it does. When are you free the next week and a half?
Let's see. Check my calendar here. All right. What about Friday?
What time? Are we looking like afternoon, night, morning?
Afternoon, night.
What's
afternoon?
So I can do. I've got lessons from about like 5 to like 8, but I could do anytime after. I could do anytime before. Like anything that works for you, I would make it work.
Or let's do like we could do like.
And that's Mountain Time.
3 o'clock. Yeah. So you said 5 to 8.
Yeah.
Like 3 o'clock. I'm trying to do the time conversion.
So on
3 o'clock my time.
So 3 o'clock your time?
3 o'clock your time.
That would be like 2 o'clock your time, though, or 1 o'clock your time.
No, it'd be 2 o'clock my time. 3 o'clock your time. 2 o'clock my time.
Oh, yeah, that works.
Board?
Yeah, beauty.
Put it on the board.
Let's go. Well, for anyone that is wanting to also tune into that one live, me personally, I'm definitely really going to go over track a little bit of help with that. I also have the ability to put track on my computer screen. So for anyone watching, while JP's walking me through it, you guys will actually be able to follow along as well. Track is an incredible program that Driveline has done. It is for facilities, teams, pretty much anything. There's actually a couple of CrossFit gyms that use it as well out here in Brighton, Colorado. Yeah, I was surprised by that one, but I was like, oh, that's really cool. It's a great program. It's also free for certain academies that have less than 20 players for the base version. It's incredible. I highly suggest it. They have their own pre-built programs into it for bat speed, a bunch of different stuff that I've only looked on the hitting portion side of, but that's definitely one thing that I'm really going to want to go over with you. And honestly, anything else. I also did get those Baseball Rebellion turn pieces and stuff. So, I mean, we could break that out and I could do the cage with the cameras and stuff too.
That'd be sick.
Beautiful. Well, I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining. This has been another Hit Chat Chit Chat group chat. And yeah, thank you guys. Have a great one.
R.I.P. Burnsy.
Rip Burnsy, dude. And Rip Stevie.
Rick Stevie.
That man might actually not be doing well.